Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports. ESPN 630. Live in Las Vegas from Radio Row. This is the Bram Weinstein Show. Presented by Seat Club. Join the club, quit the fees.
All right, welcome back here live for Day 3, Radio Row in Las Vegas. We're getting set for Super Bowl 58. We got a couple of live guests here to start the show today. Foye Oluwokon, who's a linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to tell you about how I wanted Washington to try to get you a couple years ago when you were a free agent. And Chris Hetherington, who's from Fathead. They are kind of re-envisioning Fathead. Every kid who's listening to this show, or everybody my age, had one of these when they were a kid. And you guys are kind of re-envisioning bringing it back into the mainstream again, right, Chris?
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, we're bringing Fathead back. It's a 17-year-old iconic brand, and to your point, most people know what the brand is, so we're here to leverage our access to really world-class talent and cutting-edge technology to really bring this thing to new levels.
So what do kids want these days? What do they want in their rooms? What are you learning about the experience? Everybody had one. Everybody knows exactly what it was. What do they want these days?
They want to become closer to their heroes. So Fathead 2.0 is taking this 17-year-old iconic brand, infusing it with innovation and technology to, make their heroes come to life. So in the future, you have the most coveted real estate in the homes, right? So people's homes, their bedrooms, their man caves. Now all of a sudden, Fathead 2.0 is you scan these decals with your iPhone or iPad. They come to life through AR. You can have conversation with the hero through AI. So it's essentially bringing fans closer to their heroes.
Foye, you're invested in this now. Who'd you have on your wall?
I didn't have anybody on the wall. My parents wouldn't let me doing that. They were very strict with education and stuff, so we didn't have any fat heads. But my friends all had fat heads back in the day. The Donovan McNabbs and the Michael Vicks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you could do any sport. But one of my friends, the St. Louis Rams, he had every big time greatest show on turf. All the skill positions lined
Marshall
up in his
Falk.
Basement.
Torrey Holt.
He had Ricky Prohl on there. Kurt Warner.
Prohl.
Yeah.
He went deep on it.
Yeah. I mean, that was our pride and joy back in the day, St. Louis Rams.
Yeah. So because you went where? Yale, right?
Yale, yep.
Nothing on your walls, huh? Just
I got
mathematic equations.
I actually got a poster of myself, kind of vain, huh? But it's a Yale poster. I just put it up. I think I must have had it in my backpack one day.
Yeah.
Just put it up on the wall.
Why'd you want to be part of this then?
First and foremost, I wanted to kind of expand my knowledge on business and entrepreneurship and investing.
Yep.
Chris did go to Yale as well, and he was somebody who I met early. We chopped it up on things that wasn't even Fathead, and then he came to me with this opportunity. And my team, I wanted to learn exactly why he was doing it. And, obviously he wants to make money off of it, but why did he get into it? Because you do so much stuff on the field, and you gain so much. To your name and stuff, but really, going to Yale, I don't want that to have that go to waste. So the business side of it is kind of what I'm anticipating to learn from this whole experience. And on top of that, I liked what he pitched to me about the company itself.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a quick story. I called the games for the Commanders a couple years ago. You may remember this game. It's Taylor Heineke down in Atlanta. Crazy finish, right? We had a kickoff return for a touchdown, whatever. We had a crazy game. McLaurin made a couple late catches. I knew you were coming up for free agency. We needed a linebacker. It was around this time 2 years ago that we were saying, go get Foye Oluwokon and bring him to Washington. So we wanted you, actually. We wanted you. Yeah. But you got the money in Jacksonville, huh?
We had a good team in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want things to go a little bit better there than they did this year. But I'm excited with the way that program's heading.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your experience with free agency a couple of years ago. How did that kind of go? What was the experience like for you?
It was nerve-wracking because, I play, people like, it's easy to say, players play for money and stuff. I really play for, the respect of my peers and the guys evaluating and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the truest evaluation for them. Like, you played 4 years. What do they really think about you? You know? It was weird because the teams that were competitive at the time, they said we'd want him, but I think he played too well last year out of our price range, which was weird to me to hear. How are you going to say that I played too well to where you wouldn't want to pay me? So, if I would have played worse, I would have been more attractive to you. It's a weird thing to hear.
Yeah.
So it really kind of narrowed which teams were going to actually be able to bid for me down, unfortunately. But, Jacksonville decided that I was worth that. The Falcons were actually trying to, get me back. Maybe some other teams here and there, but Jacksonville, it's kind of like a respect thing. Had the most respect on where the future they saw for me leading the defense and stuff. So I just was very honored in how it worked out. But it's kind of it's scary. It's really scary just having all these guys saying, "Oh, he does this well, but he doesn't do this. Oh, he does this, but he doesn't do that." Like, oh, he's going to be worth that.
You didn't separate yourself from that. You didn't let your agent just deal with all.
Oh yeah,
of that?
he doing. But you hear it. You can't not see it. What's he going to be worth? Or the Falcons wanted to bring me back, and all the fans were like, "Oh, he's not worth this or that," or "Oh, we should pay him for that." It's kind of hard to really escape in the social media world. But, I just kind of put my phone down and just worked out. Just do my normal off season, and I feel like I took care of stuff on the field. So it was all going to take care of stuff off the field.
Chris, you played in the NFL. You played with the Niners, right? When were you there in San Francisco?
I played 11 years, technically for 6 different teams. I finished my career at the Niners in 05 and 06, and obviously a huge supporter of the Niners, and certainly really looking forward to this game on Sunday. But, I loved every organization I played for. I had an unbelievable experience in 11 years and met a lot of great people and played for some good organizations, and so it was special.
Can you talk about your experience going from being NFL athlete to business, fathead? What was that experience like for you?
Look, the transition from being a professional athlete to the real world is difficult, and you hear these stories, and I was lucky enough to get a good education at Yale, like Foye, and I did the executive programs at Harvard and Wharton while I was still playing, and look, the average career is 3 years, and so you're not going to play forever. So the more you can put yourself out there and learn and network and grow, and then when I retired in 2007, I joined a hedge fund in 2008. I was there for a total of 11 years. I started a brand in the health and wellness space about 4 years ago, and then kind of fell upon this opportunity serendipitously through one of my close friends from Yale who lived in the Detroit, Michigan area, and I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time and scooped up a great brand.
This might be an unusual one for Fathead, but in Washington, everyone's in love with the new owners. So could you make giant fatheads of the new ownership group? Because I think that's what they want to put on their walls these days.
Make whatever fans want. That's the greatest thing about Fathead. We can customize anything you want. So I'm happy for Washington. I think it's, the fans deserve better, and I think they'll get it with this new ownership group.
I assume you're pulling for the Niners this weekend?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I mean, look, it's hard to bet against Mahomes and Kelsey and KC. The defense has stepped up, but San Fran just has so many weapons.
Yeah.
I think if they take care of the ball and control the clock, they're in good shape.
Yep. Foye, this is like the all-time tight end Super Bowl. What would you do with Kelsey? What would you do with Kittle this weekend?
Really depends on what your D-line can do. They can hold up, rushing 4. Really, the Bucs probably had the best game plan. They had a pretty simple – back in the day when they smacked them, they just played man, 2-man. So two high safeties and basically matched everything underneath. Made the quarterback run around, but you have to have 4 linemen that can get to the quarterback. But also with the Niners, you got to load the box because their run game is so prolific and they do a lot of misdirection and stuff. So you got to load the front, keep your secondary kind of stationary with all the jets and motions they do with the eyes. Just run and go get the ball. But you got to have dominating D-line play to stop both these teams.
You guys had you played Kansas City in the playoffs last year, right? Right? Didn't you have them?
Yep.
But how do you think about trying to limit Mahomes? What's the thought process?
Yeah, you can limit him. Keep the ball in front of you. I think we did a good job earlier this year when we played him. Keep the ball in front of you. Make him either scramble or throw the check down and get off the field when it gets to 3rd and long. Yeah, it's harder. It's easier said than done. But you want to limit the amount of explosives and make him drive the field. I think they want, actually they've kind of morphed a little bit earlier. They're kind of frustrated with themselves not being able to score quick and often. So now they're more content, dinking and dunking down the field, but make them do that the whole game.
All right, who's going to win? What do you think?
Let's see who wins, man.
Yeah. Good teams. What do you got, Niners?
Yeah. Niners all day by 9.
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, look, it's a great story.
Yeah, it is.
He's got a lot of weapons around him. He's just got to take care of the ball, and I think they'll be in good shape.
Chris Hetherington, Foye Oluwokon, thanks for coming by. Great to meet you.
Appreciate having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, Callow, back here live on Radio Row. I wanted to talk a little bit about, before we get into, let me set the stage for you of what's coming up today. Brad Edwards, Super Bowl champion from the 91 season, is going to join me in about 10 minutes or so. You're going to hear from Lee Steinberg, super agent, I've been waiting to play Carrot Top for you. That is happening today. We're going to play Carrot Top, Vegas legend. Ben Fox, who's worked with ESPN and VSiN. We haven't done a betting segment, so you'll hear from him. He's got all of his best bets for the game this weekend, and then we'll see what happens because, as you know, I'm looking around. It's another busy day here. Chris Johnson, 2,000-yard rusher, just walked by. I saw Michael Irvin just walk by. So who knows? Who knows who's going to stop by here later on for the next couple of hours. But I want to get into a couple of things, obviously, that happened yesterday, which was the announcement of the Hall of Fame class. I went out with London Fletcher last night. Obviously, he did not rise up to the finalist level. He got eliminated at the semifinalist level. So I was talking to him a little bit about that. And, so he's hoping that one day his name's going to get called. And I think actually the good news for him, I think there's a couple of good news, bad news, depends how you want to look at it with this class. I think Patrick Willis going in helps him. You need certain people to be out of the way. And Patrick Willis was always going into the Hall of Fame. And the idea of two middle linebackers going in at the same time is always kind of unusual. So we kind of looked at it that way last night, that Patrick Willis going in, who felt like a shoo-in to go in, that's actually a good thing, I think, for his candidacy going down the road.
I think that's twofold. Not only with Patrick Willis getting London in, I think Devin Hester getting in is going to help B-Mitch 100%. Ultimately, because we all kept saying B-Mitch needs to go in, he needs to go in, but now you're going to have Hester putting the spotlight back on special teams returners. We've also had this conversation, it feels like for 10 years. There aren't going to be any returners going in, like from here on out, essentially, from this era, because there aren't returns anymore, essentially. So I think you're right. Like both of those cases, you're having somebody that is going to put the spotlight on those guys, and hopefully they do ultimately end up getting in. I'm still shocked London doesn't get the momentum he does. I mean, Super Bowl champion, didn't miss a game, led the league or led his team in tackles like every single year. I'm always shocked that he doesn't make more noise, but yeah, on both sides, we're going to get the spotlight on both London and on B-Mitch for sure.
Yeah, the interesting part with London, too, is like, I guess maybe because he won early. He won a Super Bowl, so he's a champion, but he's undrafted, out of nowhere. Yeah. Nobody knew who he was, so there wasn't a lot of attention on him early in his career. He became steady, solid. Then he went to Buffalo and Washington. Didn't win anything, and he was he was a really, really, really good player on teams that didn't win anything, and so he's a star who has no shine. And I think that's the difficult part, I think, that he has to get over. Right. But I do agree, like, if you just stack, his numbers are second to nobody's, but he doesn't have the name Ray Lewis, Dick Butkus, Mike Singletary. He doesn't have that, and he gets that. And he also never pushed himself that way to be out there and be perceived that way. So it's going to take people jumping up on the table and going, I don't know how you don't look at this guy's resume and not understand, how great he was. Sure. But I do think Patrick Willis getting out of the way is good. In the same way I agree with you, I'm surprised Devin Hester got in, frankly, because they've been so hardcore about special teamers getting in that, especially with B-Mitch, that I can't believe that he actually did. But I agree, and I'd like to think that this makes his case. Like, I think now that this it broke the seal of this, that they've put another returner in. It's first time in forever that they've done that, a primary returner in. I think now whoever is advocating for the Commanders could jump on the table there and say, if you put him in, how are you not going to put the greatest returner of all time in? That doesn't make any sense. So I do think that there's a case now that's different for B-Mitch than there was even as of 6 months ago.
Keim also had a great tweet on this earlier today or last night when it came through, was Hester, greatest return man, whatever you want to say, whatever titles you want to give him. That's what he was, though, just a return man. When B-Mitch left the Redskins in the late 90s, early 2000s, I forget what year it was, they needed to replace a return man, a punt returner, a kick returner, a running back, a backup quarterback, and just an overall offensive type player. It took, I think Keim's quote was, it took 3 guys to replace B-Mitch when he left this team. Hester was strictly return. They tried to put him on offense, but he was drafted as a DB. He was drafted as a DB, and then they tried to put him on offense, and it didn't work out. So I think that's going to be the distinction here, is that B-Mitch, not only does he have the number 2 in all-purpose yards behind Jerry Rice, it's also going to be he contributed in other ways, which is going to look way, way, way more impressive now with Hester now being into the Hall of Fame. So.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully. I mean, people have short memories, and B-Mitch's been out of the game for a long time, so hopefully that will change, though. But I do believe that it will help him as well. Andre Johnson, to me, was a shoo-in to get in. Julius Peppers, to me, was a shoo-in to get in. Dwight Freeney was a shoo-in to get in. The legends who got in are Randy Gradishar and Steve McMichael. So that's 3 Bears. So count Chicago in for the Hall of Fame game. Yeah. That's happening. Julius Peppers, Devin Hester, Steve McMichael all going in the same year. Yeah. And, oh, by the way, they have the number 1 pick, and that might be, whether he would play in the Hall of Fame game or not. I have a feeling that's a lock that Chicago will be playing in Canton in the first football game of the summer for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. All right. So that one was that. All right. As for the awards last night, I'm not surprised that Lamar Jackson won. I did see a lot of the MVP. I did see a lot of people complaining. I guess somebody voted for Josh Allen, of which I was kind of like, and the guy had like 40-something touchdowns this year. And listen, I thought Lamar had a great year. I'm not advocating against voting against him, but this whole narrative of he's it, how could you vote for anybody else? Did you see the season McCaffrey had? Did you see the season Josh Allen had?
Right.
Did you see the season CJ Stroud had, frankly? I don't know how it was like this. He was that far above and beyond everybody else. And if you actually go look at his stats from this year, they were not otherworldly. They were not Mahomesy or Allen type numbers. So, I get it, and I'm not against it. I just felt like I hate when the narrative is a push of how can you vote for anybody else when they were so obvious there were other candidates that were worthy of receiving votes here. But he got 49 of the 50 votes, so the narrative worked. Everybody just basically said you have to vote for him this year, and that's fine. I don't take an issue with him winning the award. I think he's deserving of it. What I hated was the dismissiveness that everybody else didn't have the season he had, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. It was a lot closer than that to me personally.
I think it was Lamar had the best end of season stretch. It was him, Allen, you're right, McCaffrey, but the way the Ravens played down the stretch where they just started dominating people the last 2 or 3 months, it should have been Lamar. I totally see why, a vote got siphoned away, though. Could you really knock whoever it was that Allen didn't deserve a vote? I don't know. That's a little ridiculous to have a unanimous MVP. Not to mention, you and I talked about this. The Ravens' biggest, the biggest trailing they had ever done was what? Or they hadn't trailed or something. They had only trailed by 7 points or something, and it was only for a minute. It was something really, really dumb that they were never trailing. So the argument could be made. Lamar was always playing with the lead. The defense was elite. I totally see that argument, but he still got 49 votes. I'm not going to knock the one person for switching it up there at all.
They had some weird choices here. They had to split the baby. So they gave McCaffrey Offensive Player of the Year, which his numbers were so outrageous that I was like, you could have made an argument he was the MVP.
Yes. Absolutely.
So they had to figure out a way to do this. So they gave him that, and that makes sense that he gets that he got that one. Browns, Myles Garrett got Defensive Player of the Year. That made sense. Kevin Stefanski got Coach of the Year. I guess he edged out DeMeco Ryans. It was hard not to vote for him. And I do think it's funny. Okay, if Lamar Jackson's the MVP, how is John Harbaugh not up for Coach of the Year? John Harbaugh's team was not expected to be the number 1 seed going into this year. As of at this point last year, we were wondering if Lamar was coming back to that team.
Right.
I mean, I loved what they did on defense, but there isn't anybody that projected them to be the best defense in the NFL when the season started. So I was a little surprised that he didn't garner more interest. I guess it's just, what is that about? Is that just, we expected them to be good because they're always kind of good? How did he not get more interest in this? Not to take away from Stefanski or Ryan, who I think were both deserving candidates. Stefanski who won, but Stefanski won Coach of the Year in a division he lost. To the 1 seed.
But Stefanski's was way more impressive. They were dead in the water, signed a quarterback off the street, and made the playoffs. In that division, by the way. And by the way, Flacco wasn't just the backup. He was the 3rd or 4th quarterback they tried. I don't know. I'm more impressed by Stefanski because they were also. It wasn't like every game was a nail biter either. They were also beating people soundly with him, and he looked really, really good. I was more impressed with Stefanski. I guess.
All right.
I guess to your argument, Lamar almost hurts Harbaugh because they're going, oh, well, he's got the MVP on his team. Of course his team was good. So you could actually argue it the other way of like, he's got this elite player, whereas Stefanski did not. Like, his starting running back went down. His starting quarterback went down. His defense was really, really good, of course, but he's doing it with Flacco. I think Stefanski deserved it. I really do.
The other one was, and this is the there's no right answer here. Joe Flacco gets comeback player of the year. And to his point, where he even said, come back from what? I've been playing for whatever many years. I just happened to not be playing when they called me when they needed a quarterback. And I happened to be good for a month. For DeMar Hamlin, who barely played for the Bills, but did come back from the dead. And if, like, you can't win the award for coming back from the dead, then I don't know what you have to do to win the award. And I don't know. It's like, there's no right answer. Like, that's the craziest thing. There's literally no right answer to it.
They needed to, one, I didn't think anyone was going to take it from Hamlin, by the way. I didn't think even Flacco, with the year he had, they were going to actually let that happen. What the NFL needed to do was pivot and make an award for Hamlin. Because I'm sorry, you're right. Like, the guy who almost died on the field deserves something. Deserves some kind of...
Almost. He did. He did.
You know what I mean?
They revived him.
Yes. I mean, you know what I'm saying, though. Like, so I think they needed to pivot and hand him something because, like, he stuffed the football world last year. So, I think they needed to figure it out with him.
But then the whole time I'm like, okay, he made the team. He barely played.
Right.
And so it was just, that was such a strange thing. But I was surprised they went this way. Then the last thing was the rookies of the year were both on the same team. C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson. Neither one to me was a surprise other than you could have argued Puka. Puka broke records as a rookie receiver. So you could have argued that, but Stroud's year was ahead of the curve, and so I don't take issue with it. But I think you could have argued it. Will Anderson looks the part. He is going to be a stud. He's going to be every bit where they picked him. So he was the right choice too.
The video, I don't know if you saw the video of them like meeting backstage, but it was a really cool embrace between those two, just because they pretty much know like they're about to go on this decade run with each other. It was just a really genuine moment between the two. I think it was after. I forget who went first, but either way, I think it was Stroud walking by and they met each other. It was a really cool video. Check it out if you haven't already.
The second year in a row that both rookies are off the same team. Yep. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner got it a year ago. C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson this year. And who knows, maybe when we take a quarterback at number 2 and whoever the rush end we get in the early part of the second round is, maybe we'll be doing this next year. That would be fun.
That'd be nice.
Take a quick break. I had a chance to catch up with former Redskins Super Bowl champion Brad Edwards, who's now the CEO of the NFL Alumni Association. So we'll talk to him next here, live from Radio Row in Las Vegas. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Live in Las Vegas from Radio Row, this is the Bram Weinstein Show, presented by Seat Club. Join the club, quit the fees.
Welcome back live to Las Vegas on Radio Row. It's a pleasure to be welcomed by one of the former Redskins Super Bowl champions, Brad Edwards, who's now the CEO of the NFL Alumni Association. It's great to see you.
Great to be here. It's obviously great to be in Vegas here at Radio Row. You know, I just love the energy here. It's just and great to be with folks from our own local market in D.C., man. It's awesome.
It's great to see you, too. Let's talk about some football in a little bit, but let me talk about what you're here to discuss, which is what's going on with the NFL alumni and your position and some of the initiatives that you have this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And just been in the saddle a little bit over a year after a couple of decades in the college space. And so, like I was saying earlier, I feel like I'm the smartest guy in college sports. I got back in the pro game, but it is really been a very unique role in that we are a nonprofit. At the end of the day, we are the oldest and alumni association in college sports. We're certainly the most well known, and our IP is so highly recognizable, and we do a ton of stuff. I mean, caring for our own. One thing we do is we live in that space in the middle between in the whole ecosystem of pro sports, where the league is. They put the games on. They're building the brand. The Players Association is expanding the cap, and then together they collectively work on a basket of benefits for former players, and then we kind of live right in the middle of that space.
Yeah.
And we also help guide them and fill in any gaps of care that they may have, guide them to benefits that may exist throughout that ecosystem, which sometimes can be confusing, for players. What do I get, and what do I get from where? Where do I go to get that? And so we help them on health care, and we look at their finances and their financial well-being as a part of that. And then we really help them on their charitable pursuits at a local level. We've got 40 chapters around the country. Again, we are a 501c3. We provide all the resources under one EIN number for them to do all that work locally, and caring for kids and caring for our communities is, the other bedrocks of our mission. And I was talking to Brian Mitchell earlier, and I said it is amazing, how philanthropic, and it wasn't lost on me when I got in the NFL about how philanthropic the players really were. To wit, one year I looked up in our program in Washington, and I think we had something like 80 charities that were represented by the players, and that doesn't end when you leave. Matter of fact, it really grows. And guys, sometimes, that focus now of how do I leave a legacy? How do I improve my communities? How do I care for young people and develop young people? And so, we do a lot of that, and we do a lot of it through lots of different initiatives, partnerships with the CDC around shingles vaccinations we're doing right now. We've got a terrific campaign going on in Tennessee around CDC, with the CDC around COVID vaccination awareness, tackle obesity awareness, wellness, eradicating hunger, all kinds of stuff. I mean, we've impacted probably a little over 25,000 kids and their families in the last 12 months through food assistance programs, mentoring programs, camps, all those sorts of things. We had a great initiative just kicking off with the Better Business Bureau around ethics in business, and using all of the lessons we've learned through sportsmanship, fair play, playing by the rules, and trying to apply that toward youth development around small business particularly. So that's just a little bit of a snapshot of some of the really neat. It's one of those things when I lay my head down at night, I do feel pretty good about what I able to be a part of during the day.
All right, so we're at the Super Bowl. What kind of memories does it bring back for you? You were part of, obviously, the 91 season and the 92 championship up in Minnesota. So what do you think about now? I know it's been a long time, but
right.
What do you think about now when you think about the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think about, on one hand, it was so amazing, and on the other hand, it was terrifying. It's just like, particularly I think sometimes as a defensive back or a safety where it's just you. I mean, you can really get isolated on a field. So I think in my mind,
and that team had a Hall of Fame quarterback and Hall of Fame receivers.
It's like Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas and Jim. I mean, it's just kind of scary when you're. That ride to from the hotel to the dome was about as long of a ride as I've ever had in my life. I mean, metaphorically, because it just you're thinking about the enormity of in the scope and scale of what you're getting ready to be a part of, and it can either make you or break you. And I was like, don't be that guy that this is your last day playing football. But on the other hand, when it gets going and you're in the middle of it, and it is, and toward the end for us, when we knew the game was out of control, out of reach for the Bills, and when I wasn't single-handedly blowing coverages to try to get a third interception because I knew I'd get the trophy if I got a third one. We got back to Washington, and they're like, "We're not really sure what you called on this play, Brad." And like question mark after question mark, and I might have taken a few liberties down the stretch, but when at the end, when the clock is ticking down and the confetti starts falling, and you realize you've reached it.
It's got to be surreal.
It is so amazing. And then you go from that high, like it just doesn't get any better than that, to about an hour and a half later when you've done all the media interviews, you've gotten the trophy, the owners has left the locker room, the commissioners left the locker room, and Joe Gibbs calls everyone over and he gives you kind of a little speech, and then he stops and gets this stone cold look on his face and goes, "But I need to remind you, we need your bags outside your rooms tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock because we got to get on a plane and go back to D.C. and figure out how we're going to do this thing again next year."
Oh.
And I'm like, did he go there? Did he?
Wow.
That guy within an hour, he had moved on. He had already moved on, and when we flew back.
No wonder he had to retire. He couldn't enjoy it for 10 minutes.
He could, yeah. He had already said, I've been there, done this. I know how hard it. And he's talked about on the plane about how, what we needed to do between the time we landed and the time we reported, which was only a month into March. So it was already it was almost the start of February, and how much harder it was going to be the next year, and all the demands that were going to be on. I mean, he was already preparing you for the kickoff against Dallas on September 1.
I look at the game this weekend, and it has some kind of comparisons to the matchup that you guys had, and I really wonder if we were in a modern media cycle, how they would have looked at you guys, because they had the super quarterback, and the Chiefs have the super quarterback, and everybody says this is a really good team, maybe a better team, and maybe Washington would have been seen that way, but no one would have believed Rippon was the type of guy to beat Jim Kelly. I think there's...
Right, absolutely. I mean, they were just, they were throwing the ball around like, it wasn't a run and shoot. I mean, it was like a legit kind of spread system that could also run the football and run the football really well, and with lots of pieces, and, like we mentioned earlier, and a lot of assets, and I mean, they were scoring points. I mean, like crazy. And the Washington team was just they were just loaded. I mean, just when you think about that team, when a guy, although we lost him, recently, was an amazing player, Frank Wycheck, or Keenan McCardle, or Ray Brown, these guys that couldn't make the roster who were on the practice squad. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, and some other guys, Stan Humphries is back there running the scout team for you every day. And so, I feel like many times we came out of practice in the game, we get into the game and it would be a little slow until maybe through the first half of the first quarter, or maybe sometimes throughout the first quarter till the other team caught up. And so I just think it was just an amazing team. But I like drawing the comparison, and it would really be interesting. I think I like your thought process there about if you could fast forward, plug that game in here.
Every week I write this on my boards when I call the games. The last time that Washington had a shutout was 1991, which I can't believe is the case. You guys had 3 of them that year, but it has not happened since. It's a crazy stat, but it's a mark of how great you guys were on both sides of the ball, and people talk about you as the greatest team ever. It's
I don't have all the calculus, with me, as you'd be more familiar with some of the statistical analysis behind it, but it has been really rewarding to me over the last, probably 5 to 10 years, where some of that has started to evolve into a popular narrative around statistically that team really in the modern era being
unmatched.
Yeah, it really is
on
amazing.
Both sides. It's unmatched.
It really is when you look at it from that perspective. And what is so interesting, and maybe this says something about my prognosticating abilities, but I almost thought going into it, we were 1-3 in preseason, and our starters had played well, but we didn't look great in preseason, and I was a little bit worried going into the Detroit game that I played on 2 great Vikings teams that were both divisional playoff teams. One of them is still probably a top 20 defense all time, that 89 Viking defense. And so I wasn't sure going into the Detroit game on the opening week how good we were really going to be, and then it just came together, and we beat those guys 45-0, and it was it was like we were playing pitch and catch in the backyard.
Yeah. All right, last thing. Who you got? Chiefs or 49ers?
Yeah, I'm a momentum guy. I love the way the 49ers run their organization. I mean, there's a couple organizations I really like. Everything, the kind of player, their mantra, their culture, the kind of players they draft, they add to their roster, the way they interact, the way they execute. I love the 49ers, but right now I think the Chiefs, to do what they did the last 2 weeks to go into Buffalo,
they've done it the hard way for sure,
and Baltimore, and I mean that momentum. You can just see the shift in the momentum, and it hasn't been the same for the 49ers down the stretch. And I think in many, it looked like they played some of their best ball in early middle part of the season, and the Chiefs looked the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And so I just think that momentum is on their side, and if I don't know what their sort of injury reality is right now, it's so much about who's healthy and who's on the field.
Yep.
I mean, it's not sometimes 9/10 of the battle, but yeah, I kind of like and I'm pulling for Taylor Swift.
Well, you're the CEO of the NFL Alumni Association. Do you get to meet her?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, so that would be great. But no, my 7-year-old daughter, she comes in. You'll appreciate this story. So she comes in the other day, and I'm sitting there with my 11-year-old son, and my 7-year-old goes, "Dad, who is Travis Kelce?" I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah.
And my son goes, "Well, he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're playing in the Super Bowl." And she automatically goes, "Well, I'm pulling for the Chiefs, and can I go to the Super Bowl with you?" I was like,
"I bet,
sure."
Why not?
I got to go to one when I played in it.
Yeah.
So,
Brad, it's great seeing you.
Likewise.
And thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, man, appreciate you.
All right, back here live in Vegas. If you're tired of hidden costs and fees and ticket prices, Seat Club's changing that game. Their promise is complete transparency. They earn revenue solely from a simple $99 yearly subscription, not from any fees or markups on the tickets. It means real savings for you of up to 35% on the same exact tickets compared to their competitors. And here's more good news. If you use promo code ESPN, you'll get 50% off your first year. Just remember, that offer is going to end Sunday after the big game. Seat Club, join the club, quit the fees. We're going to take a quick break, and hopefully I'll get a chance to hear from Doug Williams, who did an interview on NFL Network about what the team is thinking at number 2. But we are going to talk to Akbar Gbajabiamila in a moment as well, the former NFLer and the host of American Ninja Warriors, live here on Radio Row. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Live in Las Vegas from Radio Row, this is the Bram Weinstein Show, presented by Seat Club. Join the club, quit the fees.
All right, welcome back here live to Radio Row here in Las Vegas. Pleased to be joined by Akbar Gbajabiamila. God, you have the hardest last name.
I know. That's all right. No, Gbajabiamila. But you know what? It's funny. I got a funny story about that, because John Madden, of course, the late, great John Madden, would struggle with the last name. And I remember, this was with not for me, but for my brother. And so I remember he gave him the nickname KGB. Which obviously made a lot of sense, right, for what he was doing for the Packers. Yeah. And so I remember we were playing, I think it was a Monday night game against the Broncos when I was with the Raiders. And I went up to John Madden and I was like, I've never met the great John Madden. I want to go meet him. And so I introduced myself. He goes, "Oh, yeah." And then he told me a story. He goes, "Look, I gave your brother the nickname because," he goes, "by the time he made a play, he was moving so fast, and boom, I tried to get his name out, but I was struggling. It was already on to the next play." Yeah. So he says, "You know what?" I just like, well, hey, why don't we just call him KGB? And then boom, that's how it stuck.
Can we do AGB here?
I tried it. I tried it when I got into the league, AGB, but AGB didn't have a meaning.
That's right.
Like KGB, there was a double entendre to that, right? He was like an assassin, off the edge, so it made sense, Yeah.
You played in the NFL, but everybody knows you from a lot of different things, a lot of different realms. You talk on CBS. You do American Ninja Warrior, I want to ask you about in a minute as well, because my kids love that show.
Oh, thank you.
Watching all of that. And you also, for the people who still get people, you're one of the sexiest men alive. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a fun ride, making that transition from football into the media space. That one, though, look, I've been married for 15 years, man, so I don't know how far that's going to get me. Yeah. But, when my boys want to rag on me, I can always throw that out there. Like, yo, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the sexiest man alive.
You're the perfect person to answer this. Is Jason Kelce actually one of the sexiest men alive? Because he also was named one of the sexiest men alive.
No. I'm the sexiest man alive. That's what they said, right? No. Yeah. I don't know. I
don't think so.
I think you get Taylor Swift, and all of a sudden it makes you look better. I'll never forget when I was a rookie. We go to the rookie symposium, and they said for a lot of you guys, overnight you're going to get a lot better looking, not because you're better looking, but because you got money and you're in the league. And it made it make sense. It made people and made women look at these guys as more attractive. So, what am I saying? Travis Kelce is just a guy, not on the field. He's just a guy, you know what I mean? But
it was his brother with the beard and the shirtless stuff. And
but you know what? Look, he got game though, because all I know is Travis Kelce. I mean, he better make it happen all the way through. Yeah. He better get married. he did it, man. Like, that's it. He's Super Bowl ring, got a beautiful, smart, intelligent, powerful woman. Like, I mean, he's got the whole thing. He's got literally everything. Like, he could retire right now, go into the Hall of Fame of husbands married to strong women and tight ends. You know what I mean? Like, he's good.
I mean, I want to talk a little ball with you, an American Ninja Warrior, but you're here through Experian. So why don't you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, so my partnership with Experian is very, very personal because it's something that's deeply, deeply important to me, and that's being able to help people with their financial game plan. You know, we're talking game plan, the NFL, Super Bowl, the big game. Well, you know, Experian did a survey over a bunch of fans who are preparing for the big game. 30% of them they do not have a game plan, but 80% of them want to improve and find a way to improve their credit score. Why? Because we realize things are getting super, super expensive out there. You talk about inflation, you talk about interest rate, cost of living, cost of goods. I mean, it just is hard to keep up. You're spending a lot more money. People are forced now in this economic environment. People are forced to overspend, and you know, overspending can put you in trouble of getting in debt. And if you're in debt, all of a sudden now that impacts your credit score. Well, Experian is flipping this whole thing upside down by saying we want to help to improve people's credit score by giving them a boost in their credit by paying for their responsibilities on time. What responsibilities am I talking about? Your streaming services, your utilities. Everybody's got utility services. Everybody's got streaming now, right? Seems like everybody's doing that. And when you pay those on time, you get credit to boost your credit score. And they've created this new ecosystem where they've got the Experian Smart Money digital checking account where it has the Experian Boost built into that. And so when you start taking care and paying those responsibilities, you are getting a massive upside on your credit score. And we know with a high credit score, you have flexibility, maneuverability financially to be able to do things, to be able to keep up with inflation and be able to have a little bit more financial freedom.
All right. Let's get into some of the stuff that you do.
Yep.
My kids love American Ninja Warrior. Like, how did you get into that? Where did that come? What was your interest in all of that?
You know, I didn't have an interest in American Ninja Warrior per se, but I did know that I wanted to get into broadcasting after I got done. But I was insecure in that I didn't have the football career my brother had. He had a phenomenal football, became the all-time sack leader for the Packers, breaking Reggie White's record.
So you felt like you needed a name to get
I needed
to make
a
that
name
leap?
because when you looked on TV, turn on TV now. And I'm going to say 95% of the guys who are former players that are talking heads played in Super Bowls, maybe perhaps future Hall of Famers, had big names, right? Or played a long time.
In the big spots. Yes, correct.
And so I'm like, well, where am I going to find that opportunity for myself? And I didn't see where I could do that, but I knew that I had the talent. I knew that at the time I had the potential. You know, and I knew I could do it, but I wasn't going to be given an opportunity just because of my playing career. So I felt like I was kind of like locked in. And so I said, you know what? Let me create my own opportunities. Start off doing local television for free when I got done. That rolled into college football, being a color analyst, having fun with that. That moved into the NFL Network. And then once I started to see where I was being capped at the NFL Network, like, hey, you can't move any higher because you didn't have a good playing career. I'm like, but what does that have to do with anything? And so I said, hey, look, maybe I make a plan to pivot into entertainment. And so there was an audition for American Ninja Warrior. I had gone out a bunch of things. I hadn't gotten stuff. And I just went out there to have fun.
Yeah.
And I just had fun during the audition like I was at a WWE wrestling match or something. And I got the call like 2 weeks later that I was going to be the host of American Ninja Warrior. I never forget, March 23rd, 2013. March 25th, 2013. Changed my life.
What do you think of those competitions now? I mean, you performed at a very high level. You were an NFL player. What do you make of them as athletes? Yeah. What do you
They're
make of it?
the dopest athletes on the planet.
Yeah.
Because they have what I call functional athleticism, stuff that you can actually use. Like if I was in a burning building, I would want to be a Ninja Warrior. Heck yeah, because those guys can move their bodies in ways that we don't train. I'm used to pushing weight and pushing people off of me. But as far as moving my body weight, the way these guys do, they're literally taking their bodies and swinging from one thing, throwing themselves 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 feet across apparatuses. I mean, they are like like living Marvel, like they're part of the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? Like they could all be some sort of character in the Marvel universe.
The show looks wild to see live.
Yeah. We're getting ready to start our 16th season.
That's amazing.
Which is crazy.
You were telling me before we got on the air, you know Ron Rivera?
Yes.
What did you make of what happened with him in his tenure in Washington?
You know, look, I mean, they underperformed this year. There's no doubt about that. I think Ron Rivera would tell you that. Shout out to Coach. But I thought he should have been maybe given another opportunity. But I understand the culture there. There's new leadership. Of course, Magic Johnson coming in as a part owner of the organization. Sometimes it's better to kind of start off with your guys and new things, and so maybe you don't have the same type of grace. I was equally as shocked that Eric Bieniemy didn't get a look. I've known Coach Bieniemy since he recruited me when I was in high school at Crenshaw High School, and I've always known the talent that he is, and for some reason nobody's giving him that opportunity to be a head coach. I thought maybe they would go, hey, if Ron doesn't work out, we can give Eric Bieniemy an opportunity. You saw what the Raiders did in-house. They had an interim head coach, and they brought up Antonio Pierce with no head coaching experience whatsoever. It made sense because he understood it. You know, and so Eric Bieniemy came from a pedigree of great winning with the Kansas City Chiefs, and somehow he continuously gets discounted for his effort. I know it didn't turn over like that with the Commanders. Those same things didn't translate over, but that was just 1 year.
I loved him as a coach, watching him every day. He's a very tough-minded individual. Yeah. I think he walked into a very dicey situation with how unsteady it was with a sale, with Rivera's future, with a young quarterback, with not a good offensive line, and I think it was a tough spot for him.
I know Eric Bieniemy had to do what a lot of people wasn't willing to do, which was he had to walk away from being underneath the cloud of Andy Reid, because that's what everybody wanted to do. It's the same thing they're doing to Brock Purdy. They're saying Brock Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant. He was drafted in the 7th round. It's confirmation bias, right? They're going, we need to prove that he's not who we think he is. So we're going to nitpick everything that goes wrong with Brock Purdy so they can confirm their bias. That, see, he is Mr. Irrelevant. It's a dumb title. I know it's supposed to be light and to be make fun of or whatever, but it's like, for me, it's causing people not to recognize Brock Purdy. Same thing with, Eric Bieniemy, where, people just kept saying he's a product of the Andy Reid system.
Yeah.
So he had to go somewhere desperate to make drastic change and hope like people will see his talent, because had they turned over and gone to the Super Bowl, now all of a sudden it's forcing the conversation to get Eric Bieniemy, because for some reason they're not giving him the opportunity and the chance to be a head coach.
I know you got to go. We got to go too. Who you got? 49ers or Chiefs? What do you like?
Chiefs. Easy.
Chiefs. Why?
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes can't be stopped. Chris Jones on the defense, I think, is going, and that entire defense is really locked and solid.
I think he's the game. If he's hurt, I think they're in trouble.
I said that 4 sacks. Yeah. I could easily see him going in and destroying that right side of the 49ers offensive line. And really kind of being productive.
Akbar, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll be right back here live in Las Vegas. Bram Watson Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.